Howdy YouTube viewers and gear fans everywhere across cyberspace. Thanks for tuning into the WatchBox review today. Movo TX coming at you again with another WatchBox review. Today's box is open and we're taking a look here at the Android Divemaster Espionage 2. And that's the watch you're seeing here on my 64mm wide wrist. It's a very flat, wide case-shaped profile with no case lug curvature. I already know well ahead of time that watches with this shape fit me perfectly, and it's very, very comfortable. You're seeing it here on my right wrist. I switch hit basically and go back and forth all the time. I'm a left-handed PC mouse user, so I wear my watches on my right wrist all the time when I'm at the desk, because I don't want to drag my buckle across the desktop on my left hand. So there you have it. Let's take the watch off and hammer out the tech specs. Okay, so the dive bezel across is 50mm. The lug end to lug end length is 56mm. It uses a standard strap attachment system, so there's a lot of aggressive strap drop down angle, and it's very comfortable in that regard. The case thickness is 18.5mm from the flat of the mineral crystal to the case back. The crown diameter is a 10mm diameter crown with a nicely done Android logo, and it's all polished, and it sticks out of the side of the case by 6.5mm. Okay, the strap lug width is a standard 24mm wide, and it uses a pair of spring bars, one here and one here overall. And the crystal window on the front is 37.5mm across. It is a flat crystal. There's no dome, and there's definitely no date execution or a date magnifier in there. Okay, so the strap lug width, as I said before, is a standard 24 across. It is a straight strap design with no taper in either overall width or material thickness. It's got a nicely done little Android logo and a barb at the end. Okay, in fact, you're seeing a lot of dust and debris here on my review, and it's silicone. Okay, so one of the factors of silicone is it's really sticky, and to me, I like that because I can have the watch sit on my wrist and it sticks. Okay, I don't have to wear it really, really tight, and the watch basically stays planted, even though I don't really wear my watch very tight. My wrist is 7 5/8 circumference around, and I usually wear it on the 4th to the last hole, or sometimes the 3rd to the last hole, very comfortably. So my wrists tend to expand and swell up like in the summer with my activity level, so I usually adjust the size and the fit on the fly. But basically you're looking at a silicone strap, and to get rid of all that dust and debris, you simply use like a damp cloth or whatever, or a rag or whatever, or paper towel or whatever, napkin, and you just kind of wipe it off and it's spotless again. Okay, so that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. It doesn't really bother me that much because I know I can just wipe it off, no big deal. So here's the other strap, the other side with the Android brushed buckle on it. You're seeing some scratches and things here. All my watches, as you guys know, are basically users. I don't do out-of-box reviews. I basically use my watches for a month before I review them. Some nice silicone keepers on the other side as well. It's about a 4.5, maybe 4mm thick strap, so it's not the thickest strap around, but it's still nice, very comfortable. These little slots cut out of the strap give it a little bit of flexibility here. I thought they were just cosmetic kind of thing, but it actually does aid a little bit in the comfort and the flexibility of the strap. It's still very wide, and it's not really like a rubber band kind of feel. It's still very wide and very rigid and very, very comfortable. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I think one of the key points features in the case design. It's a hood. It's called what is called a hooded strap lug, and for whatever crazy reason in watchmaking and horology, hooded strap lug designs that cover over the strap attach point are very expensive. Okay, you have to spend a lot of money to get a hooded strap lug feature on a dive watch, and I'm not sure exactly why, but it is what it is. So you're talking about, to get your foot into the door, you're talking about companies like Ocean 7, Armida, have pieces that start off in the $350 to $450 price range with hooded strap lugs. Okay, so hats off to Android for featuring a pretty high-end dive tool feature for not a whole lot of money, basically. And being Android Flair, they've got some really nicely decorated Allen screws, some stainless steel polished Allen screws that are just there for pure decorative purposes. Okay, so the entire case is very angular and geometrically shaped with some nicely thickly done black ionic plating over brushed stainless. Okay, so it's not a smooth jelly bean curve piece like you saw in my previous review with the Android Divemaster Espionage 1. The Model 2 has a lot of angles and shapes to it, so it's a much more bold timepiece overall on the wrist. It has a lot more wrist presence, so to speak, when you're wearing it. Okay, so there's a second look at the crown. It's a screw-down crown. So that crown together with the screw-in case back achieve 50 ATMs of water pressure resistance. Okay, it's a standard, really generic, semi-generic looking brushed stainless steel case back with the name and model number designated around the perimeter there. And really nicely done. Basic, straight up dive tool. Screw down, screw locking crown, and a screw-in case back. Pretty standard stuff. Well done by Android. On the other side, you're seeing what looks like another crown, but it's really not. It's just a perforated, decorated cover piece for the helium release valve. What you do is get like a paper clip or something and push it into that middle hole there, and you can actuate the valve should you ever need to. I've never personally needed the helium release valve on either of my watches, but it's there, and it's a cool high-end feature, okay, that most other high-end dive watches have. And again, hats off to Android for giving us that feature, and executed it nicely in this little crown looking detail, so that's kind of cool. Okay, really cool features, well protected. Okay, I wear my watches actively in and out of the pool this summer. I've never had any problems retaining or sealing out water on any of my watches, so, or either of these two watches, I should say. Okay, so let's focus on the coin edge dive bezel. One of the most outstanding features of this watch is the dive bezel, and it's the most distinctively different thing, I think, about the Model number 2 and the Model number 1. The Model number 2 is an aggressive gear coin edge. It's polished stainless steel, very easy to turn, really nicely executed. I love coin edge bezels. I've always had a preference for coin edges, always, and I think Android really nailed it with this execution. Okay, what you're looking at there are super Luminova accented bezel markings. So each number is painted in green super Luminova, and it glows in the dark so you can see it at night. Really nicely done. It's encased in a layer of like a hard plastic enamel coating. Okay, so it's not a sapphire coated type bezel like you get on some really expensive dive tools, but it is fairly scratch resistant. Okay, I've banged this watch several times on stainless doorknobs, and I've got a couple scratches in this enamel to show for it. I mean, under some really heavy impact. So it is pretty scratch resistant, and it's definitely pretty durable. Okay, the dive bezel is a unidirectional rotating 120 click design. All my Android dive bezels are really outstandingly machine fabricated. The machining tolerances and the fabrication tolerances that Android uses on their dive bezels is really good. No slop, no rattle, really smooth feeling. And here's a little tip. When you get your watch out of the box and it's brand new, the dive bezel might feel kind of sticky or tight or snug or inconsistent. What you want to do is just use it to, I don't know, time your roast beef in the oven or whatever. And then after a couple weeks, run it under some lukewarm water in the tap. It's a dive tool. Don't worry about it. It's 50 ATMs. You're not going to damage your watch by running it under sink water. And get that water to flow under the bezel and loosen out all that loose debris and whatever metal fragmentation that's in there, and get it to clean it out. It's not a defect. That's not a defective dive bezel. They're just all that way. Every one of my watches, whenever the bezel feels a little tight and kind of snug out of the box, I run it under some water, and it really smooths it out. Okay, so there's your dive scale, your first 15-minute dive scale you're seeing with the triangle logo at the 00 pip. Okay, and there is your business end. Bam! Look at that. Awesome dial execution. In fact, that's the one thing that remains consistent from the Espionage 2, from the first release, Espionage 1, and I'm glad they kept that. That is the most outstanding feature about this watch, is that sunray wave textured dial execution. It really gives the watch a lot of pop and a lot of wrist presence, particularly outdoors in the sun. I mean, it just gleams. It's like a beacon of light shining off your wrist, and it is really outstanding the way I think Android captured that in basically what is a dull color, a dark gray, dull-ish color. Okay, so the movement used in this piece is a Seagull TY2806 automatic movement. And what you're seeing there is the 21,600 vibration per hour sweep second-hand motion around the dial. Okay, I'm going to blitz through the TY2806. The key points you need to be aware of is a bidirectional winding automatic rotor that's in there. So just any kind of motion or rocking or swinging of the watch rotor is going to keep your mainspring wound. It is also a hacking automatic movement. So when you unscrew the crown and you pull the crown for timing adjustments, that second hand will stop and it will allow you to synchronize your time with a different or a second watch or a second desk clock or your atomic watch or something to that effect. It is also a manual crown winding movement. So you can wind the crown in the morning or whatever and you're good to go. It has an overwind clutch feature built into the mechanism, so it's impossible to overwind it. I usually wind this watch about 10 or 15 times or turns on the crown, and the bidirectional, that gets it started, and then the bidirectional wind rotor keeps the mainspring wound throughout the day as I wear the watch. I've never had a problem with either of these movements maintaining mainspring power. So it's got about a 40 to 45 hour power reserve. I've never actually timed it. So again, no problems there. About a 40-hour power reserve, no problems there. Okay, the dial execution itself is really nicely done in applied super Luminova dial markings. Awesome. They glow green and they're really, really bright and easy to read at night. And the hands are crazy bright. Okay, I mean we're talking Seiko LumiBright levels of luminescence that fill in the hands in this particular execution. Really, really nicely done. Okay, so let's pause for a moment, dim the lights, and lume charge and take a look at the glow features. Okay, so you guys have seen me do this before. Lume charge with my ultraviolet flashlight, and we're good to go. Bingo. Okay. Okay, so there you're seeing what really is, to me, one of the star attractions of the Divemaster Espionage 2, and that is generous amounts of super Luminova around the dial and the dive bezel, and particularly the hands. The hands glow like crazy on these Android dive watches. I mean, we're talking Seiko LumiBright levels of glow intensity, particularly on these green ones with the arrow on the hour and the flat and the straight minute hand. Just awesome. Let me just lume charge again. The other thing too to keep in mind is my camera has a hard time picking up such faint levels of light. So what you're really looking at here is basically like a time-lapsed image capture of what the watch kind of looks like, you know, in a movie theater after half an hour or whatever it is. So in reality, I can very, very easily, boldly read the time here off this dial. Really, really nicely done. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so there you have that. Let's turn the lights back on and wrap things up. Okay, so I bought this watch for a little over $100. I think Shop NBC. I think Shop NBC is was the last place I bought it from, and awesome. I've seen them as low as $80 online. I should have jumped on that, but I waited a bit and I had to pay a little bit more. No problems there. Awesome execution. Really nice feature set. Really happy with this purchase. It's one of my favorite watches as far as big watches go. I wear it all the time over the summer and I had no problems with it at all. Totally comfortable. Silicone strap. Really nicely done. Okay, so thanks a lot everyone for sitting through my review here. This has been a review of the Android Divemaster Espionage 2 in black ionic plated steel. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks a lot.